Hello and welcome to the STCfit Learning Podcast. I'll be your host today. My name's Ben Scott. I'll be joined by Jason Galea. Thanks for joining us on our way to create 1 million positive outcomes for personal training clients by 2030. The podcast is brought to you by @STCfit Learning, a page created to upskill and educate PTs and gym nerds. Also brought to you by @STCfit, and that's a place for all your online and in-person personal training needs. If you enjoyed today's episodes, please give us a share and tag on the Instawebs. You can tag @STCfit, @STCfit Learning, @BenScottSC, and @JasonGalea-PC. Hope you enjoy the show. What's up, everybody? We're back.
Guys, what's happening?
2 in a row for us.
I know. This could end badly.
And we've got the round table on Friday as well.
Yeah, lots of talking.
Yeah, 100%. Like, it's funny, like we're allowed out now, but we still just are hovering heads on Zoom.
Yeah. Oh, I'll tell you what, I've been out and about lately though. Like, man, I don't think I've eaten a meal at home outside, like, you know, breakfast and lunch, but I haven't cooked dinner at home since Thursday.
Yeah. Yeah, it's Wednesday for you guys listening. I'm exactly the same. And it's like yesterday, Amy said to me, she's like, fuck, why am I so tired? I'm just like, the level of input that we've had for the last 5 days, we have not seen in 9 months.
Yeah. There's just always something on. It's like, we catch up Friday night.
Yeah.
I've got something on Saturday. Got to see like the in-laws. Like, it's just next level.
Yeah, I'm happy to just have a few days of just working now.
Anyway, I just touched something.
Yeah, you're back now.
Okay, cool.
How many episodes and we still have mic difficulties?
Things always happen.
At least we fixed the fact that it was plugged in but not on and you were using your laptop mic.
Fuck. Come a long way.
Was that Dolly's episode? I can't remember which one it was.
I'm not sure, but I had all the equipment. We had no equipment and the sound was shit. Then I had the equipment and the sound was still shit. And now I finally got the equipment to work. And
yeah, we're there now. Shit. We think.
Yeah.
Sweet. What's you looking forward to this week, Jason? We haven't had our calls this week.
Yeah, true.
Public holiday.
Yeah. So we had a massive catch up yesterday. Well, not massive because we can only catch up with 10 people outside or whatever it is. But so we caught up with some friends yesterday. So that was really fun.
Yeah.
I got to see my niece and nephew. So I just got that that 5% urge to play with children.
Yeah.
And oh, maybe I should have a kid. And then so you play with my niece and nephew. And I'm like, all right, cool. That's enough now.
Yeah.
happy with my life choices today.
Urge is satisfied.
Yeah. It's like that 5% might grow into a 7 and a 10 over a time. But at the moment it's 5. And I'm like, all right, I cured that itch.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. That's pretty much it. And just catching up with the rest of the family this weekend. So that's the major thing I'm looking forward to. What about you?
I've got my first face-to-face client today for the first time. So it's obviously everyone's been in lockdown, but I haven't done a face-to-face session since March 2019.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, obviously like train with people and help people out in the gym and stuff, but a proper face-to-face session should be good.
Yeah, it's mad.
Hopefully I remember how to do it, eh?
It's like
don't just talk about it on the internet, and when I get face-to-face with someone, I can actually do it.
We like riding a bike. It'll feel a little bit wonky.
Yeah.
Slot straight back in.
Yeah. No, I did some over ISO just with friends, when it was down to 20 or whatever it was you're allowed in the gym. So it's still there. The ice still there.
Yeah.
But a formal sessions, it would be fun. I'm excited. I'm going to set up my incline bench that I haven't set up yet.
You still haven't set that up?
Nah, it's just sitting in the box. To be honest, training has been a fair way down the importance hierarchy the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
So last week's episode was the 5 pillars to becoming a standout PT. We got heaps of awesome feedback, which is really, really cool. Just I guess stuff that a lot of coaches hadn't really thought about. And to be fair, they're not taught either. But just concepts that, I guess stood out, particularly everyone knows about mindset, but just the the easy quantification of that, like growth, ownership, values, and then your plan. It's being able to identify those 5 things and be like, okay, am I ticking those boxes? And knowing that you need to drive energy there if required. So thanks everyone who gave us the feedback and had a listen. I know a lot of people actually even went back again with like pen and paper and stuff, which was pretty cool. So today we figured, like particularly like I just mentioned, the mindset stuff, we unpacked that pretty solidly last week. So we're going to talk about the second pillar a little bit more, because obviously trying to keep things into a reasonable time frame last week, we weren't able to unpack each of these. So we're going to open up model and just what things we look at and what that means to us in the academy, and obviously mentoring trainers and stuff, and even within our own business as well, things that we've evolved over time that we've noticed makes measurable difference to your outcomes, both as the coach and even as the client as well, being able to facilitate outcomes for them. So a big thing, just a caveat, I think I sort of mentioned it in the last episode, is like we stand by being a client first PT group. It's what we do. The intent is always to make changes based on it facilitating a better outcome for the client. Sometimes that means that we can just see more of them. Sometimes it means we just deliver a better service and a better product. Or maybe we're just not absolutely tanked and cooked and can actually concentrate and remember what clients did. And I know both of us have been in situations just like back in the day doing sort of 50 sessions a week. And you're like, what session did we do yesterday? Because I don't remember. And I'm sure a lot of PTs that have gotten busy have had that feeling. So all of this stuff ties into being a better personal trainer, not just, we'll obviously talk today about how much more time it'll give you and the ability to make more money, which is also quite important in terms of running a business, but also just, make sure you're filtering it through the lens of what that enables you to do for your clients and the outcomes it enables you to get.
Yeah. I think adding on to that, like a model is like allows you to make to make an exact copy of something. So it allows that repetition, it allows that consistency, it allows you, like we said last week, to find rooms for improvement, plug those holes, review, reflect, do the things that you're thinking about for the client in a better fashion, because you do everything in this repetitive manner that you go, I'm not sure if I like that anymore. I'm getting this question all the time, or this keeps coming up. So we're going to look here, where if we don't have a model and we're kind of just winging it, we don't really know nothing's consistent. And then 2, we don't really know what to do. Well, the only thing to make it better is just make a model. Yeah,
100%. So when it comes to creating models for your business, it's cool to like maybe buy a course that's going to teach you like, here's a lead funnel model and here's a this model and here's a programming model and all that sort of stuff. Like that's cool. But what we need to actually do before that, and they can make decent spines for your business, but what we need to consider and filter through first is who we actually work with, and knowing that inside and out. If you don't know who you're trying to deliver the model to and who you're trying to facilitate outcomes for, it's very, very challenging to then put together something that's going to be effective for them. So if you take, for example, I work with anywhere from intermediate, like high-end beginner intermediate lifters up to higher intermediates, competitors, that sort of stuff. So my model, I've had people come to me in consults that are like, I don't really know how to squat. It's like, my model's not going to work for you.
Yeah.
Like, because you're not who I train, and this is going to be way over your head in terms of what's going on. Take the same money and go and do face-to-face sessions.
Yep.
So in terms of like figuring out who you work with, I guess, how did you go about putting together, like you're mainly working now with people who just want to look really good. How did you go about finding who that was and developing that?
I think firstly, I enjoy it. So if we look at the values thing and the why, all those things, like why did you get into business, what is important to you, even just like values within business and within your career, like you broke that down. It's like, I have a fascination with muscles, body fat, human body, resistance training. Like that's the stuff I just want to nerd the fuck out on. So I think like taking that and then like me having a personal endeavor to try and do it myself, I then kind of got good at delivering it to people, and more people started to come.
Yeah.
But it was because I had identified that I was really passionate about it, and I identified that I could get outcomes with it. So I think the next thing from there was like, okay, well, I've got to send the message of this is how to get these things. If you're frustrated with not getting X, Y, and Z, these are the mistakes that you're most likely making.
Yep.
And that just over time, with working on the model and having a good service and all of those things, people start to talk, you start to get good outcomes, you start to, build a lead funnel business that's not, it's not like that typical lead funnel that everyone else talks about when we talk about it. It's like, it's a lot broader than that. It's like asserting yourself as the person to go to get this outcome. And I think that just starts to organically happen when you look at all these things and start putting all the pieces in the right place.
So we talk about it as the ecosystem for your profile.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And I think once you go, like anything, you got to take a leap. Like at one stage, like I was just training anybody, which we do agree to do, but you kind of can get, if you don't be made aware that you need to take the step to deliver to a particular person, you just get stuck in the trap of the people that you don't like to train talking to their friends and attracting you again.
Yeah.
You're stuck with these people that like, they need help, but they're probably best suited to someone else if you're not that enthused to train them. And it's only because you've got just interests that lie somewhere else. You've got a skill set that's evolving that lies somewhere else. So you've got to take that plunge and go, cool, well, I'm going to deliver this message. I'll have a few people drop off who aren't the person that I typically train.
Yeah.
There'll be this period where there's a transition, and then the numbers start to pick up. But if you look at the last 10, 15, 20 people you've signed on, they are the person that you like to work with.
Yeah.
But then all of a sudden you've got this book over a period of time of the people that you like to train, and all your energy goes into them, and all your resources and all your education goes into the things you like to do, which is train this particular person.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like we did it or unconsciously, in terms of like just finding like, oh, I like working with these people. I get good results and they keep coming to me. So and like you said, it's the stuff I really like nerding out on. I did sort of the same thing, moved my personal sort of preference and the shit I like to nerd out on towards strength and programming and that sort of stuff. Happened to move gyms at the time, picked up a few clients that sort of fit into this mold. And then I was like, okay, there's another one. And then all of a sudden it was like, hey, I'm 40 minutes away. Can I come and see you once a fortnight? Because they fit into that thing. And like looking at the ecosystem, like we talked about, social media, results, articles, podcasts, all that sort of stuff. They were like, I want to work with that guy because he does the thing that I want really specifically. So I think initially, like we said, if you're just starting out, your niche is everyone in your gym. That is your niche. So the demographic of your gym is your niche. And then once you sort of, I would say maybe 3/4 booked, it's like now it's time to start to think about, all right, who do you really want to work with? And then to make that decision, there's 3 questions that we look at. So the first one is, who can you get the best outcomes for? So if you're, say, for example, you've got a really in-depth knowledge of biomechanics and movement, and you're really good at in-depth programming, then working with someone who is just going to squat to a bench maybe isn't facilitating the skill set that you have. If you're a little bit newer and you're great at communication, maybe that person who walks through the door that needs that, all right, I need to squat to a bench and then air squat and then front squat, maybe that person is perfect for you because you're a great communicator and you can get that person to progress really quickly. So which person inside that gym are you able to get the best outcome for? The next one is making sure that someone can afford you. So making sure that the target that you've chosen, we had a really great example of this in the academy recently, with a girl who was really passionate about health and longevity and well-being and feeling good rather than like, let's get shredded and jacked. Still liked that side of things, but her focus was like, let's make you a really healthy human. And was looking more into like the rehab space and trying to find people who needed her. So people who were maybe overweight, that were on the couch, and trying to motivate them to then come and work with her, which is really hard slog to try and convince someone that they need you. It's going to be a real challenge to attract that person. So we flipped it and went, well, what if you worked with corporate women who value their performance, how they feel, maybe even over how they look, and they need a really specific outcome, but they're in the corporate job so they can actually afford your services and they're willing to pay for online coaching. It was like a little bit of a mic drop moment for her to be like, oh yeah, that makes way more sense than trying to convince someone who's not already paying for any services in health and fitness to then front up and pay an online coach.
Yeah, I think it's just a lens that we can get caught looking through, just like with the potential clients that are out there. So it's valuable to have a support group where you can throw some ideas around, and other people, like, let's be honest, like, people are leveraging other people's experience. That's what experience should be for. And a greater lens can be exposed to people and go, there's a whole broad spectrum of people you can work with. We just throw some ideas out and identify some options for people, and they're just like, oh wow, I didn't know that was possible, because they are caught in the idea that they still have to convince people to take their service on. They're not going with the idea of attracting a particular type of person based off the things they like to do and what they are good at.
Who's already looking for them.
Yeah.
Whether consciously or subconsciously, that's what they're looking for.
Yeah. And if you take that mindset, like we've talked about it before, it's like coaches hate sales. They hate them. So it's like, you would hate it if you were trying to convince someone to buy a product that they didn't want, or they don't know what they're getting. Where if you identify this person and you're now sending a message out to someone, it's like a beacon to someone who wants that beacon back. It's like, cool, I'm going to go and train with this person. Just makes that process so much easier.
So the last filter for that, so you've got best result for, have the ability to pay for your services. And then the last one is that affinity. So like Jace was talking about, like, and myself, like, what do you nerd out on? What do you like? Who do you like working with? So when it comes to niching, they talk about horizontal niching and vertical niching. So a vertical niche would be like, I train dentists. So then you're just talking to everyone who falls under that. So initially, when we talk about, like, all right, if you're in a big box gym, that's a vertical niche. It's like, I train people at Good Life, Fitness First, whatever, Jets, whatever chain that you're in. Then as you progress, you start to look at more of a horizontal niche. So it's like, I work with women between the ages of 22 and 32 who want to get strong and jacked, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So that will shift over time based on where you are in your career. But those two definitely exist. Make sure that, so I guess coming back to the point there is like, if you like working specifically with dentists, train just dentists. If there's a personality type and somebody that you like working with, refine the somebody, or the outcome or whatever, and hone in on that more so than the specific thing that they do or whatever, or their location or something. So once we've got who, it makes it a little bit easier to start to put things together. So it's obviously important to know what. So we're not talking specifically here about the service. So that's the next pillar. When we talk about what inside the business model thing, it's what outcomes can you provide? What problem can you solve? What can you help with? So what's the problems that you're identifying with people at the moment? And then how are you bridging the gap between the problem and the solution?
Yeah, this is a big one that a lot of people don't put a lot of time in. And I get it, like at the start, they want to train as many people as possible. They need to make, clients need to make money. But a lot of people don't really know what outcomes they can potentially get for people or what they're really good at, what they're passionate about. And they end up either just being the jack of all trades and trying to get as many people on and can potentially get found out, or they just end up pushing their own goals onto all of the people that they work with.
Yeah. And I think when we talked about like when you start out, you train your niche as the club, and then you move to a more specific, the horizontal niche instead. That happens when you decide what outcomes you provide rather than being reactive to the client.
Yeah.
So the biggest misconception, the biggest trap that I see people in is, well, what do I do? Well, I do what the client needs. It's like, okay, so that means you do morbidly obese fat loss. That means you do performance training. That means you do hypertrophy, you do strength, you do endurance. Like, do you do all of those things really well, or just like touch base on all of them? And once you decide, okay, this is the thing I really enjoy, so that affinity level is there, that's a need within the who that you've chosen. Once you decide that and you start talking about that, that's when that tribe starts to build around you. So then we want to talk about, so we know who we're going to train, we know what problems they have and how we're going to solve them. And then we need to talk about how. So again, not specifics of the service. It's not like, oh, do I do a weekly check-in or whatever. It's like, what do I actually need to know? What are the steps to move from the problem to the solution conceptually? So we have a set of, well, this is basically our pillars that we talked about last week would be our how. So for us, it's mindset, model, service, clients, be great. And then our training one is mindset, training, programming, nutrition, lifestyle. So they're the 5 things that will bridge the gap between the problems our clients have and the outcomes that they want. So how do you deliver the solution to your client's problems? Identifying that, now we can actually get into the nitty gritty. Did you want to add anything to the how, Jace?
No, I think that once you've identified those major areas that you work within to provide the what, like everything just starts to fall into place. This is the model. This is the repetitive process that is starting to take place where you guys can get really, really good at delivering this. Yeah. And it starts to bring down a lot of walls, a lot of barriers, a lot of obstacles to the lead or the client acquisition process. Because the lead generation process is like, know the who and find the message. The acquisition process is you sitting down with someone saying, we can get this outcome for you. This is how it's going to work. These are the services we provide.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess a good test for you guys, if you sit down in that sales process and you're not able to repeatedly just go, this is how we'll get you your outcome, confidently, repeatedly, with a very similar step-by-step process, obviously refined language-wise to the individual, but it's the system is the same for each person, then you probably need to step back and look at, okay, how do I actually achieve my client's outcomes? So
yeah,
go, Jess.
Just as an example to how important this stuff is. So we've mentored heaps of coaches, dozens of coaches, and we have models because that's what we provide. We want people to come in, understand the inner workings of it, take it out and apply it. Every single time someone deviates from the model, you can see their performance metrics drop.
Yeah.
So we can just sit there and go, you're doing really well. You're not doing great at the moment. Ask a few questions, get them to tell you like what they're doing. 9 times out of 10, they've moved away from the model and they're just starting to do things ad lib, and that's starting to show in the results. And as soon as they go back to the model and go back to the repetitive nature of it, you can see it in the data again. The metrics pick up, performance metrics pick up straight away.
Yeah.
That's how vital this stuff is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%. We see it all the time. Hey, for years.
Yeah. You just know when someone's like not doing not following the model. Like it shows instantly. It's like almost like when someone's not following the program.
Yeah.
It's like you're not getting stronger or bigger or leaner. Like there's something happening here.
What's happening? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. All right. So we know who we're training, we know what we can offer them, and we know how we're going to do it. So now we can actually go to, all right, how am I going to set up my business? Which no one does before they start. It's like, I'm going to just train people and I'll write programs and I'll do stuff.
I'll just open a bank account and people can just put money in it.
Yeah. Or
just put it in my hand and I'll put it in my pocket and it's in my wardrobe. And I know because I did it.
Direct deposit it into my bank account that I can't track and I don't have a system for managing.
Yeah.
Those standards things that everyone does. It's usually on the way through.
Guilty.
Because again, we understand because you're not taught it. But if you step out of PT world for a minute and think about, is that business or is that a hobby? It's like, that's a hobby.
Yeah.
Like it's no different to your tradie mate rocking up to your house and you throwing him some cash and he does the deck for you out the back. Like that's not a real business transaction.
Yeah.
And what it does also, and this is the overarching theme of today, is keeping the power of running the business in your own hands, not in your client's hands. Because that's probably, I think at the moment, particularly with the group that we've got, as they start to advance further and further, one thing that stands out once we see people get close to capacity, it's like it becomes more and more prevalent and more damaging that you're letting your clients run your business for you.
Yeah, I think if you want to become that standout PT or that standout fitness business owner, you need to take command of all aspects of it.
Yeah.
And I get it. It's a confidence thing. Sometimes it's just awareness. We're always trying to please the person that's happy to take the service from us. But if you look at it like every other example where you go to a business and you get a service and you ask someone how it works and all of that, they just straight up just tell you how it is. But for some reason, because it's such an emotional thing, our own business, and making our careers happen, we forget that, and then we just kind of bow down and let people kind of just do whatever they want, and then wonder why we've got no security and no stability to the operations of it and your income and all of that stuff. And it's just like we're kind of creating that situation. You're kind of creating that yourself, where we can get all those things: stability, regular income, and all that. We just need to approach things from the model and how you lead, and then everything kind of falls in place.
Yeah. So I guess before we jump into the action steps, this applies to you most if you're not able to take holidays, is a really good example. If you can't book a holiday when you want to book a holiday and take that time off and still service your clients and still get paid by most of them, pay attention. If you're getting to the end of the week, absolutely stuffed, you're chasing your tail, you wake up each day like, I don't really know what I need to do today. Or did Jenny need a program? Or like, who did I have to see today? Like asking all those questions and just feeling anxious and unstable and not certain and on a day-to-day basis, you probably need to look into this stuff really quickly. So we ask the guys usually, like when they're starting out, like rate that stuff out of 10, which I think we did that in the last episode. Hey, it's like, what would you rate your business systems out of 10? Like how refined are they? How repetitive are they? How much double handling of work do you do? Because it's like, how many coaches do we know that work 30, 40, 50, 60 hours a week and take home minimum wage after rent? It's like, it shouldn't be that way, and it doesn't need to be that way. And you don't need to be stressed and anxious all the time. You can actually put things in place that actually once it's done, it's a little bit scary to look at first, and we're not going to pretend that it's not. And it takes some work to set things up and a little bit of trial and error and refinement. But once it's running, man, it'll change your life.
Yeah, and it's a big pain point if you look at major pain points for coaches. It's like there's pressure to wake up in the morning, got a little bit of a tickle in your throat, like I got to go to work, and then wake up the next morning, there's a sniffle and a tickle, I've still got to go to work, where like you most likely should be at home resting. You don't have that flexibility, or it's need to go here for this particular event, and it's like you either take a hit, or if you set things up well, you can go and know that everything's being serviced whilst you're away.
Yeah. Again, that's running a business, not working a job.
Yeah.
It's the difference. If you, just that feeling of being busy, like that's not a good thing. Just because you feel busy doesn't mean it's a good thing. And even if you're making heaps of money, like there's a lot of people out there that are killing it, like 1, 2, 3, 4 grand a week. But like you said, wake up in the morning, I don't feel well. Fuck, I'm done. I've got to go anyway.
Or you're just that cooked that, like I've done some monster weeks. Like I reckon I'll be up there in a record of coaches doing sessions and making bank.
Yeah.
But you're just so tired, you don't want to do anything.
Yeah.
And I think there just becomes a point where there's just a little more to that.
Yeah.
And then now it's like work hard, build yourself up. And now it's time to work smart. I think it's like working smart now, enjoy the things that you want to enjoy, set things up in a way that fulfill the long-term outcomes.
Yeah. And we're not anti like hashtag fucking hustle and shit.
I don't want to be the person that says you don't have to like work hard, just work smart. Like you got to work hard.
You got to do both.
You got to do both. Yeah. It's just like,
and if you want to go get your 4 grand a week from face to face, do it.
Yeah.
But do it effectively and efficiently.
Yeah.
Don't just slave away being busy and not actually know what the fuck's going on and just making heaps of money and then sleep a weekend.
Yeah. Don't do it to a point where that'll run you out of the industry.
Yeah.
Because it can.
Yeah. Which is, I think if we look at why we started the mentorship, whatever it was, 5.5 years ago, was like, you look around the gym and go, how many personal trainers between the ages of 25 and 40 are there? And there's fucking none. Because people don't put this shit in place. Though they can't get a bank loan, so they can't get a house, and they can't get married, and they can't have the kid, and they can't live that way. They can't like deal with having a work-life balance and seeing friends on the weekend because they're too cooked. They don't want to do it. So they fall out of the industry because then you hear it all the time. Oh, there's no money in PT, or PT wasn't for me. And it's like, maybe you just did it wrong.
Yeah. I have all of those things, and I go on holidays.
Yeah.
So it can be done.
Yeah, definitely. All right. So first thing we want to look at that most people get wrong is what we were talking about earlier. Cash in the shoebox, direct debits in the bank accounts.
Look at me right here.
Yeah. Waking up in the morning, not able to deal with not going to work for a day, all of that sort of stuff. So we're putting that under the banner of client management.
Yep.
So number one, we're going to talk about service in a later episode, but the minimum term will make a little bit more sense once you look at having a great service. If you're just trading sessions for money, the minimum term is probably a little, maybe doesn't make as much sense to you right now, just because Cleo's hanging out.
Things are about to kick on. So
dog's fight in the background.
He acts a certain way that if the ears go up and the tails point down,
sorry.
Sorry in advance.
So having that 12-week minimum term, because you're front loading a lot of your value, is really important. It gives you time to get the client the outcome, and make sure you're only working with people that are serious, because it's like you've got to dedicate at least 3 months to this. Irons out a lot of those little kinks and problems. Like, oh, I'm 4 weeks in, my bunny ears motivation has worn off. It's like, yeah, he's still in for another 8 weeks. It's like, we need to get this as a process. You're going to be motivated all the time. All that cliche stuff that PTs talk about all the time.
Yeah.
So that would be number one. And then to have a minimum term, if you're paying cash, it makes it pretty difficult to have minimum term because you just don't fucking come. And most people aren't going to have 12 weeks to just throw at you up front, or they don't want to.
Yeah.
So you're going to need a direct debit system.
If they do, because some people still do the PAX thing. Like, and I know people that do the PAX thing now. And I guess, yeah, one, it's hard to track. Like, they paid you this amount. What if they don't come? Like, they think that they've still got that. You kind of don't want them to have that. You take that session away.
Yeah.
And then at some point, like, when do you ask them for the next re-up?
Yeah.
Like, do you do that 2 weeks before it ends? Do you do it at the end? Like, do they just, there's not a lot of security with it. Like, it's a good cash injection at the start, but once that cash injection happens, it's like, if you weigh up the pros and cons of it, it's increasing resources to keep management of that. Imagine having like 30 people on packs. Like, that would just be a nightmare. You're a weekend millionaire.
Yeah.
Managing finances.
You spend it all.
You just have so much coming in at once. How do you pay yourself? Like,
it
just seems, I get it, it's a logical thing at the start, but if you're looking long term, it's better to have something that's a little more, constant, week in, week out.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. Once you've got your client direct debit sorted, you want to have a client agreement. So a lot of problems that you'll face, and people will face these all the time, repetitive issues with cancellations, or I missed this session, when are we making it up? Or I want to end my personal training, but I'm only 6 weeks into the 12. All of those things. You haven't sent a check-in for 6 weeks, and you can maybe complain about outcomes. All of those things need to be written down, and they need to be addressed, and it needs to be put together up front. Again, it's taking control of your own business. Your client doesn't run your business, you do. And coming back to that little caveat that we had at the start, this will get your clients better results.
Yeah.
They understand what's expected of them, and they'll do it because you told them. It's only when you don't tell them that they try and you give them an inch and they try and take a mile, that sort of approach, like that they will take advantage of that situation. It'll happen.
100%. And there's nothing more legit for your business than having some terms and conditions of like how it operates.
Yeah.
If you're so unhappy with how with the lack of security you have with the clients that you've got, and their ability to understand what's required of them when you guys go into this relationship, that all can be ironed out with a well thought out, put together document that puts all of that stuff in place, where you can just go, just refer back to section this. It's in there. If you've got any other questions, let me know.
Yeah. And again, this is where you start being able to have sick days and holidays and stuff, because it's like, it's in there. If I can't make it, this is what happens. If you can't make it, this is what happens. If I'm away for 2 weeks, this is what happens.
Or you don't sit there at 6 a.m. and get a message 5 minutes before or 5 minutes after.
Yeah.
And they say they're not coming, or they just don't come. And then they message you like 3 hours later.
Yeah.
And
you reschedule.
And they expect you, that's it. They expect you to reschedule. You're just like, no, you lost that one, bro.
Yeah. I was here.
That's it.
And it takes that, one of, I guess, the tying back into the mindset thing is like one of the biggest issues PTs have is that lack of confidence. So they don't necessarily know all of this stuff straight out of the course. And they're not taught it as they develop either. You can be 3-4 years in and not really have learnt this stuff. So the lack of confidence to deliver it is a real problem. And it's something that we've learnt a lot over time. It's just like, clients need to be told. They need to be prescribed, not asked a lot of the time.
Yeah, and anything, they need boundaries as well. We operate within boundaries every day. We just don't realize it.
Yeah, 100%. So then being able to just be like, look, this is the terms and conditions. This is how things work, and just not deviate from that makes life a whole lot easier stress-wise for you as the coach. So the next one that, again, I was really guilty of messing up early in my career. Jason, you were probably a little bit better at it, even though you didn't use the other stuff, was just financial management. I think most of your financial management was your mattress.
Just putting money in a shoebox. Holding I had to leave the house.
So yeah, like what actual financial management strategies do you have in place? So we've redeveloped ours heaps of times. The personal one we leveraged off Scott Pace's book. We talk about that all the time in terms of like people just should read it and understand it and go through the process of that. We've made one specifically for PTs because the bucket system that he uses, it's really fucking good, but it's hard as a PT when your income is varied week to week. So as always, we build a spreadsheet.
Lots of advice.
Yeah, but there's one that we're working on that's almost finished now that we're part of the academy again. It'll just be like actually looking at the funnel system. So how your finances within your business account, because you should have a business account, how that works. So you're putting things aside for business expenses, for tax, for everything that needs to happen within that business account, and then paying yourself out of that, and then budgeting inside your own account as well for your own future.
Yeah.
Fuck the amount of trainers that get this wrong.
Yeah. And I can attest that you just don't get told. Like, this is just one thing that just does not get told at all. So you're just like, all right, I need a bank account. I need money to go in it. Like, here's one. Like, and then when it comes around to tax time, it's a nightmare to orchestrate, and you don't save any money.
Yeah. And I think reaching out to trainers out there at the moment, I understand how much anxiety there is around this shit, particularly if you're struggling and particularly if you're in the red. It's like the thought of sitting down and going over a budget when you're losing money week to week is fucking horrifying. I get it, but it's not going to change until you do. Yeah. I think we touched on it last week, like sleeping on the mattress, eating tuna and baked beans. I think the worst I saw my bank account was minus $48,000. Most of which was, I think 20 was on a car and the rest was just useless personal debt, credit cards, personal loans, shit like that. It's like sitting down and like accepting that and identifying that and owning that is fucking full on. Like I get it. But since applying this method, so literally the spreadsheet that we use, since applying that, that's now wiped. I travel every year. Everything that I don't stress about money ever. It's all I used to think about every day. It's like, fuck, how am I going to eat? How am I going to pay gym rent? How am I going to pay my house rent? Fuck, there's a $300 electricity bill. Like I get what it's like to live like that. And a lot of PTs do. The only way forwards is what we talked about, that ownership mindset, growth mindset, in terms of, sitting down, doing the budget, executing it every single week and figuring it out.
Yeah, like I guess I've never been in that situation. However, I've been able to do a lot of things that coaches haven't been able to do because of the same system.
Yeah.
So it's like I don't own my home, but I'm very young and I don't have a very big mortgage.
Yeah.
And I travel a lot. I've been overseas many a times. I have a car, or a car that I like, which is an important thing for me. So
a car slightly nicer than the Pulsar you started with.
Yeah, don't pass judgments on people who like nice cars. That's just their interests.
Yeah.
And it was all from being able to, I think the catalyst was when I tried to get a car and then they were like, you don't make any money. And I'm like, yeah, I make heaps of money then. I'm like, here, I'll try and pay half of it off front. And they're like, no, it doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
You can't get a lease. You can't get a lease. Yeah, that's it. And like, give me a shoebox full of cash. And I was like, fuck. All right. So I actually have to do this properly.
Yeah.
Like I have to run a business because I can't show that I do. And when you get older, you're trying to leverage debt, create wealth, all of those things that I'm not qualified to talk about. But they've got to look at your books and go, well, if you make this amount of money, we'll give you this, and then giving you that gives you opportunity. So, but putting your money wherever like makes that next to impossible.
I remember going into the Commonwealth Bank and I wanted to trade my ute for a wagon that was the same year. Yeah. So the loan price would have dropped. I think it was by like 12 grand. So my repayments were going to be like $40 a week less.
Yeah.
The one thing I never did was miss a car payment.
Yeah. So
I was like, I know that needs to be done first. If I don't eat, it doesn't matter. Car payment has to be fucking paid.
That's good.
And I remember just sitting there like, they obviously rejected it and said no, because I didn't make it on the books. I didn't make enough money. And I was like, what do you mean? The repayments are like $50 a week cheaper and I've never missed a payment. They're like, it's not how it works.
Yeah, it's just the criteria.
Fuck. And that's how you end up, again, you end up in shitty positions. It's like, you can't decrease your debt. Because like, what do? You sell the car and then you've got to go buy a car with cash that you don't have. So you're stuck with this shit debt. So yeah, it's super, super important to get on top of this stuff. Yeah. It's actually really easy. What our guys do is literally open the spreadsheet once a week on their direct debit payout day, which also helps having a direct debit.
Yeah, direct debit
pays you
day,
on a day.
I've had that since day one. That is a thing.
So you live like a normal human and you get paid once a week or once a fortnight or whatever. You go on there and you put in, my pay this week was this. It spits out. We got 4 different accounts. So it's your living stuff. So like your day-to-day living. I call mine fun stuff, which is like sneakers, dinners, shit like that, bottle of whiskey. Big stuff, which is holidays, weekends away, all that type of thing. And then like Pate calls it a fire extinguisher. It's just like a long-term savings account. You're distributing money into all 4 of those accounts. And then sweet, I've got this much to spend. Can I buy the new Jordans? What's in my fun stuff account? Yes, I can. No, I can't. Easy filter to put things through. It's super effective. It literally will reduce your stress and anxiety if followed correctly. Almost 100% around.
Yeah. I think I'm like 5 years ahead of my mortgage just from that system.
Yeah.
Which is going to save me like 50 grand so far.
Yeah, that's crazy, huh?
Yeah.
That's awesome. All right. So moving on from finance. So we're managing that. We also need to look at business metrics. So what's actually going on in your business? So I'll just bring up mine. Please hold. So the idea behind business metrics is a few different things. Obviously, we need to look at like the financial side of things. So things we'll look at is as you guys progress through your career, you'll start charging more. So you probably want to have an idea of like what your average earning per session is. So you can track that. You can track that increasing over time. You can see what's happening. You also want to have a look at things like different services you have in your business and how much it's returning you. So say, for example, if face-to-face is returning $1,000 a week and it's costing you 15 hours and online's returning you $1,000 a week and it's costing you 10, it's like, okay, maybe online I should maybe drive more energy online because there's more income reward for time there.
Yeah.
But I like face-to-face, so I'm going to keep some of it, if that makes sense. Maybe you've got group training, maybe you've got different models, boot camps, all the other things that are going on. Maybe you've got, hopefully not, because we hate to see it, but maybe you've got a job on the side. So having a look at what's going on there as well. Then in terms of day-to-day what's going on in your business, it's really, really important to know your stats, to know where you suck.
Yeah.
If you don't know where you suck, it's real hard to get better.
So valuable. So valuable.
And it also, one of the biggest things we find is people when they're trying to build their businesses, they get overwhelmed with like how much work they've got to do. And it becomes so simple when you can reverse engineer things well and accurately. Yeah. Just sometimes it'll take a little bit of time, but it usually works out pretty well. So what we want to look at, so we're going to go through a face-to-face example. So face-to-face, if you're a brand new trainer or you're in your first 12 months, or even if you've been around a while, but you don't have a profile right now that people are coming to you, you've done a Jason, you've walked into the gym and you've lost 12 sessions in 2 weeks and turn the burners on. Let's fucking go.
I think I lost 12 in a week. Yeah. In a day.
So
whack.
The most effective way to do that is either phone calls or walking the floor, right?
Yeah.
So we're just going to put it under the phone call banner. If you have a conversation on the floor, it should be the same thing anyway, right? So say we make 100 dials in a week. Then out of that 100 dials, I have 60 conversations. So calls to conversation ratio is 60%. Out of those 60 conversations, I'm able to book, these are really high numbers. This is more probably a monthly idea, but hey, if 12 sessions walked out, you go and fucking get it.
No, yeah. I think I wrote this example off like losing 12 to 15 sessions.
Yeah. So total booked appointments was 30. How many we've got in here, how many paid sessions and how many unpaid sessions, so total sessions. So your phone call to conversations, there go the dogs.
All right.
Was 60%. And then your conversation to booking was 50%. And that's really important to tap onto that. Then we go, okay, so we had our sales appointments booked. We had 30 total appointments. We did our initial consult, and then obviously we sell on the second one. So we had 25 of them. And then we had show ups, all 25 showed up because that's awesome. And then total sales, we got, let's just say we got 15. I'll just bang that in here. So we had a 100% show ratio. So everyone that we had booked in for the sales presentation showed up, and then we closed 60% of them. So now we can go, all right, if I need 5 sales, I can reverse engineer this on the way up. So if I need, 5 sales times 60%. Oops. We work our way up, do the math for all of those, and end up with how many phone calls we need to make that week to return 5 sales at the end of the week. So imagine being able to sit down and go, all right, all I need to do, 5 sales, if we got 15, just divide that 15%. We would need about 33 phone calls on this model with a combo ratio of 60%, booking appointment 50%, show ratio 100, and then close ratio 60. If I made 33 phone calls based on that model, by the end of it, I would have 5 new sessions. So imagine, taking the stress of your week of like, what do I need to do? How do I get clients? It's like, I need to go speak to 33 people or attempt to speak to 33 people.
Yeah.
It just makes your life so much less complicated.
Yeah, there's nothing worse than like knowing you have to do stuff, but like not knowing what to do.
Yeah.
And not knowing where to put your energy. So then you end up just doing nothing. And then you just like, you don't do nothing. You just worry about doing nothing.
Yeah. And it's that compounding stuff too. Like if you don't have your direct debit in play, you don't have your client management in play, you don't have your finance managed. And then all of a sudden you're trying to fucking find all these clients and search for them, and you don't really know what's going on. And you don't actually know what the process is to get them. You've got no idea how much you actually have to do. There's no like pass fail goal for the week. Because that's the best thing about this model is like your pass fail for that week is making $33 or 5 sales, whichever one you choose. Because if I do 33 dials over a week, I'm likely to end up with 5. I do that consistently for a month, I get 20 new clients.
Yeah.
It's pretty straightforward, right? Other business metrics, we obviously, with our online guys, track things like DMs that we send out to people, conversations we have, show up and appointments for that as well. And just measuring those metrics will be important if you're an online coach. Instead of having no idea, like, I did something and some people signed up this week, but I don't know what I did different the last week. You kind of need to have that data if you want to project it over time.
Yeah.
Sweet. So now we move into the stuff that everyone knows about. Programming, nutrition, and then like education and resources. So how many trainers do you know that are like, I used to hear it all the time, and I used to just stare at people like, I don't understand what you're talking about. It's like, I'm doing programming for tomorrow's sessions.
Yeah, I don't know.
What the fuck does that mean?
Yeah.
It's like, I got 15 clients tomorrow and you got to sit down and write an individual program for each one of them on the day, like the day before. You're doing 40 sessions a week and you got to write out 40 different sessions the day before. It's foreign to me. I don't understand.
No, I wouldn't compute with that either.
So if we think about the fundamentals of programming, which is for the be great pillar conversation, but that's not a very effective way to get results for your clients, making shit up the day before anyway. We want to have a pretty long-term view of what's going on in most cases. And again, it comes from that concept of like individualized programming and trying to be not a cookie cutter PT and give your clients the best and blah, 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 blah. But it's a little bit misguided in this scenario. Worse than that would be just showing up, not knowing what you're going to do, or with a whiteboard that all 15 of those sessions are going to do the same fucking thing all day. Also not ideal.
Just looking around the gym to see what's free.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you want to train today? Legs. Okay. Leg press is free. Let's do that. Have seen it happen. So we want a programming system in place. And again, this isn't about like the ins and outs of programming. That's for another conversation. I think we have episodes on that if you want to go search for them anyway. Maybe Tam will put them in the show notes. But you need to have a system that you can follow repeatedly that allows you to generate programs effectively that work for your clients.
Yeah.
Now, this is as you get to that who, what, and how, this becomes easier and easier because you work with more and more similar people. So things become more and more similar. The more diverse and complicated your client base, obviously the more input to each program you're going to have to put. But like, how many female clients do you have that want be stronger, smaller waist, bigger glutes, probably bigger delts?
Yeah. Well,
so it's like, okay, that's a pretty specific outcome in mind. They're all probably in similar age groups because they're working with us. We know they're probably tracking their macros. They're tracking their lifestyle. We've got a pretty idea of how the overall picture looks. So we can manage volume, intensity, frequency pretty well across most of those people. And then using shameless plug, the movement assessment articles that I've been putting out from a strength point of view allows me to pick specific exercises that suit that person within that idea of a program, that concept. And then for yourself, it's like, okay, what are the weak body parts or how do they move poorly? And then specifying into that for the individual.
Yeah.
So how much more appealing is that than sitting down and being like, oh, Jane needs this program, Susan needs this program. So it just sounds like a fucking mess.
Yeah, that. And it's like, there's nothing wrong with creating a program that delivers an outcome and giving that program to multiple people who need the outcome.
Yeah.
And then just making sure that that particular person, like each individual person can withstand the volume, do the movements to a proficient level, and making sure that they kind of are executing those movements and they're going to hit what they're supposed to hit or serve what they're supposed to serve.
Yeah.
It's very, I honestly don't see any other reason to vary a program for someone.
Yeah.
No point writing one just for the sake of writing one when you have one.
Yeah.
And someone could benefit from it.
Mm-hmm. And again, this comes back to that how. It's like you should have a process that you sort of follow in mind anyway. Like that we know based on the individual's goals and stuff, probably what a program's going to look like over 6 months. So it's easy to just kind of build out over that period of time. And it's going to look similar for a lot of the people that are coming through that are similar over that 6 month period. The benefit that also has is having things that are quite similar. So like changing, oh, this person doesn't have very good external shoulder rotation or stability. So high bar squats aren't really working for them at the moment. I've put them into a front squat or even better, a safety bar squat versus someone who does have good movement. I've actually still got them high bar and I've adjusted volume based on the intensity for that. So like that's an example of things that you can use to individualize a program, whereas the layout might look very similar. And yeah, much easier to manage. Doing this may enable you to have an extra 10 clients.
Oh, easily.
And still have lower time input across the week to have an extra 10 clients, which means you're making an extra 10 clients worth of income.
Yeah. Yeah. We've always refined our models and we've always looked for that feedback.
Yeah.
And that was the biggest one when we evolved it again. That was the biggest feedback that we both experienced and all of our coaches said.
Yeah.
Like, I can either take on more people or do the same amount of people for less time.
Yeah.
Which is always what we're trying to do, and still deliver the same or better, excuse me, the same or better outcome.
Yeah, that's it. It's like there's two forms of feedback. It's like the coach, it's more efficient or effective, creates less stress in some way. The client is either just as happy, if not happier. It's like, sweet, if we achieve those things, awesome. Every now and then there'll be things that are like, we need to do this because it'll facilitate a little bit more, a better outcome, even though it's a little bit more time consuming. If you need to do that, it should increase the value of your product via either what you charge or retention.
Yep.
So next is nutrition. Jace, I'll let you go through, like, I guess, our approach to the nutrition systemization.
Yeah. So I think to start with, like, there's a lot of people out there that may not be in a position to offer nutrition. So what I would suggest is then looking at what's just as important as looking at things like calories and grams of protein and stuff. It's like habitual eating.
Yeah.
So how can we, get this person to operate in a manner when it comes to nutrition that reflects their goals? So it's getting them to adopt some form of eating frequency that fits with their lifestyle and obviously still fits with the goals that they want to achieve. If you want to build muscle, you got to eat more frequently. If you're in a fat loss phase, it doesn't really matter that much. So we need to just make sure that that person's got something there, some structure. And then it's awareness of what's going in. So providing resources. There's a lot of resources out there that you don't have to make yourself, that you can just point people in the right direction to get them educated on, what they should be nourishing their body with. So from there, if you're in a position where you are able to start to micromanage someone's nutrition, you're working with their total energy intake and their macronutrient distributions, and those things are set in a manner that reflect the goal. Mm-hmm. So it's like, if you're wanting to get leaner, your nutrition distribution is different. If you want to put on size, your nutrition distribution is different. If you want maintenance, it's different. And we just put that in we just have that in like a regular kind of weekly targets that people need to hit. And we make sure that we're working with someone's behaviors and actions to reflect the goals.
To give you guys an idea of how to systemize that approach, we work with most people that can track because we're qualified to do so. Typically we recommend something like the Precision Nutrition Hand Plan if you can't, because then you can sort of still manage those variables to a certain degree. And don't be afraid of actually how effective that is. We've got some fucking insane results with that. I think we won something like 12-week Good Life challenges in a row. I think 8 of them were following the hand plan.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's effective. Yeah.
That's great results.
So in terms of systemizing that, do you need to sit down for an hour with every person and explain to them how to set up MyFitnessPal, change things from kilojoules to calories? Here's how to change a protein. Or could you do it once on a video? And if you do it once on a video, make the video. And then make that process as easy as you can for the client. And then if you get a question and you get that question more than once, redo the video. Do it once and then apply it 100 times or 200 times, 500 times for us across the board. So you're not wasting time on the same information. And what you'll find is, because you have that conversation all the time, you'll forget things. When you sit down and go through someone and help them set up MyFitnessPal, for example, you'll forget stuff. You'll forget to turn off the step counter and that gives them back energy. You forget to do that. And then all of a sudden, 2 weeks down the track, they've been doing that the whole time. You're wondering why they haven't got results. Whereas if you provide a document that's got written step-by-step instructions with a video that's got it, you can watch someone walk through it. The client can do it live with the video in their own time. When they're not stressed, they can take it all in and get it done. The client gets such a better service. And then when they're with you, they train. Or they might not be with you because you're an online coach. So you're actually providing far greater resources for your client rather than sitting down with them with a pen and paper, just writing stuff out, and they go home with a A4 piece of paper of scroll and they forget half of what it means, and your handwriting shit like mine and they can't read it anyway. And it's full of spelling mistakes. So yeah, you are actually increasing what you're providing the client. And imagine taking out an hour of that nutrition step for every client.
Yeah.
And then you apply that to your programming template as well. And you apply it to your terms and conditions. And you've just saved yourself an hour and a half, 2 hours per client on board.
Yeah, I think the one thing we really thrive in is that time investment model, the time investment pursuit. So where you spend the time initially to create something that's going to get you that time back every single time someone uses it.
Mm-hmm.
So rather than thinking about and being stressed about why you're so busy and you're getting nothing, very little in return, make something, always think in a manner where it's like, could I create something that does this for me?
Yeah. Yeah.
And a lot of this stuff in this model can be put together that way. And sure, it takes a lot of work getting it forward, and sometimes done is better than perfect, and you've got to have to, do it and then listen to it 2 or 3 times and go, oh, shit, but I'm going to move on to something else. Most likely isn't shit. You just think it is. And then at some time, go and evolve it again, make it better. But it's like, put those things in place so you have freedom to go and work on something else. And you'll evolve your model to something that just produces ridiculous outcomes along with your skill set, and that's the be great part. It's like those 2 things will get you those really, really good outcomes and give you the freedom to go and learn what you want to learn and do the things you want to do.
Yeah. Yeah. So imagine you've signed someone up for 1 half-an-hour session a week, and it takes you an hour to set up their nutrition and get that right. And it takes you half an hour to teach them how the program works. And it takes you half an hour to explain the terms and conditions and how that works. That's 4 weeks. To talk about client outcomes, you've spent 4 weeks either in messages or inside their sessions to try and get this all on board, ready to go. And they actually start at the 4-week mark versus an external resource. It doesn't have to be, we obviously use Teachable for ours because we use it for lots of different stuff within our business. Fuck, I use Google Drive for ages.
Yeah, something like, as a PDF with hyperlinks to YouTube is very sufficient.
Video 1, start here. Video 2, go here. Video 3, go here. Step by step, how to set up your coaching and get the most out of what you're about to do. And then you think about that in terms of like value. All of a sudden, it's not your 15 minutes to check in with the client every week. It's this total service that you're providing. So you're no longer trading time for money like most PTs do and end up burnt out. And that's why they don't actually last in their careers, because they're not getting the return for effort that they deserve. They're walking around stressed and anxious and broke all the time. So that ties into the last point there I had was like client education and resources. So it's like, that's all of that. Any question you get all the time, you can start to create these types of resources. So if it's lifestyle management, if it's sleep, if it's mindset, if it's whatever it is that's coming up all the time, you've got clients that are training without you frequently. So they're only doing 1 session, your program's 4. Can you start to create a video library for common exercises that you use? You're introduced, you learnt this cool new warm-up protocol. Do you have videos that explain it so you're not standing there for 15 minutes where your client warms up and only training for 15 minutes? Like, what can you leverage? What can you create as a resource for your client that's going to be more high quality than what you can produce on a day-to-day basis anyway, and save yourself time and increase how many people you can work with less bandwidth requirement.
Yeah. And like it facilitates empowerment, which is going to get greater outcomes. Yeah. Like, there's a lot of coaches out there that don't want to give the client the rope with this fear that they will eventually just think that they don't need them anymore. But it's like, you've got to think about it the other way. It's sure, there might be people that only are with you for a short period of time. It's business. You're just going to have to deal with that. And if you get really good at turning your tap on and off with your leads, you should be fine with that. And I think at all times, no matter what, you should always be taking that client first model. And it's like, what does this person need to get this outcome? And you should be thinking in a manner of like, how can they keep it and use that goal as a stepping stone to something bigger and greater? And that comes from providing things and giving them homework, or providing things where they could have homework, and allowing them to make some decisions for themselves sometimes, rather than you taking on the onus and the responsibility of making every decision for them, and even setting the tone that they are buying you to help you get them the outcome. So you're providing everything for them to do it. It's not your responsibility. Like, you have responsibilities within the relationship, but they still have to do stuff, and you provide these resources and they can do them.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, there's so much fear behind that, but you'll get better outcomes. If you get better outcomes, you'll attract more people.
Yeah. And even coming back to like that sick day and that going away on holidays, like, how many clients do you have won't go to the gym? It's like, is that what we're trying to achieve within the fitness industry? Is like,
dependence
won't show up if you're not there.
Yeah.
I don't know. For me, that's not it.
Yeah. We're almost trying to do things the opposite way, like us. Like, it's like, spend your time with your session with them. If your session with them is over, but their actual program isn't finished, or their training session for that day isn't finished, go and finish it.
Yeah.
Like, just because you're not with me anymore and I'm off with someone else, like, training's not over for you.
Yeah.
So go and do it.
Yeah. So all the people that their ears pricked up when we talked about 30-minute sessions, that's how we do it. The client warms up before you get there, because they have the resources and the know-how to do so, because you've created that empowerment model. They train with you for 30 minutes. Oh, but my sessions go for 45, an hour and a half. It's like, cool.
Yeah. So once that person's warmed up, they're ready to go. You do the training. And then at the end of that session, if you've got to move on, most of the time it's some very simple, low input movement that they have to do at the end of their session, which doesn't need as much technical proficiency, as the programs are set in that way. It's like the meat and nuts gets done at the start. So you can move on and go, right, I'll be just here if you need anything, but I'm just going to move on to my next client. Finish your session, off you go.
And you've created resources that your client understands the progressive overload model. They understand what's expected of them. They understand rep and reserve, or whatever it is you're using in your model. So when they go to the leg press, they know how to work hard on the leg press. They don't need you to say, let's put more on, let's not put more on, because they're empowered enough to actually make those decisions themselves.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. It's funny, we said at the start of this episode it might be a short one. And I was looking at the clock and I'm like, I think we started at 10:30, but we started at 15:15. So
once we get going, it's always a good conversation. There's so many examples to draw on that we've done and been guilty of doing, and kick ourselves for doing now, because we didn't have anyone to help us, not spend all this time and effort in all these unwarranted, wasted places.
Yeah.
So I think every time we talk about one of these pillars, we're just going to be able to chat for ages.
Yeah. Yeah. I just, like you said, I just wish we had these last two podcasts 5 years ago. 8 years ago, 9 years ago.
Yep.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. So this will come out Friday morning. So if you're listening to it straight away, you can still get tickets for the roundtable with Max and Killian about clients first over spreadsheets. I've actually left ticket sales open to the Monday, because you can buy the recording and we'll send that out to you if you're unable to attend live. So yeah, just head to the @STCfit Learning Instagram, hit the link in the bio events, and it'll take you to the link. Tickets are free. So jump on those. Should be a really cool chat. Coaches Academy intake is currently open and rolling. That'll close sometime in December for a couple of months. So if you're keen, now's the time. Facilitating we've had chats in the last few weeks of like just this exact stuff. Like, I'm scared to take time off over Christmas. So it's like, get yourself in a position where you can survive the silly season, if not actually thrive through the silly season, build your business, and actually have something to come back to. At Ben Scott STC, at Jason Galea STC, for us to at STCfit for online personal training inquiries and information. And I think that covers everything.
Yep.
I think we're good.
Where you find us.
Yeah. Obviously, screenshot, share, tag, all the things. Get this out to more people, help more coaches get the outcomes they want. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for tuning in.
Ciao.